Good day, good afternoon, good night. How you doing? This is MCM and you're listening to You're Probably Right. Today we are going to have a serious conversation. Well, maybe not a serious conversation, but there's going to be a serious talk happening here. Now, of course, I'm only doing the talking, but just stay tuned. Hey y'all, what's up? It is MCM and you are listening to You're Probably Right podcast. That's how it's going down tonight. All right, I just said that for fun. So I got a lot of stuff to talk about today, but I don't think I'll be able to talk about everything. Because, it seems like I get to about 57 minutes to maybe a minute and 6 minutes and then what? Enough's enough and I'm done. Whereas really what I should do is just continue. But I don't think I'm ever going to get to that 2-hour mark where I'm just sitting there talking alone. I think that's a bit much. So don't look for that on an episode near you. The funny thing is, I think I'm at about episode 85 or 86. But the problem is what I've noticed is I'm stuck in these 80s because I keep deleting certain episodes that I've put up for different reasons. Sometimes I put up something and then I'm like, man, you have second thoughts. I'm glad my viewership on each episode isn't into like the tens of thousands or whatever. And then I can't really take it back because it's just out there. So luckily I have this small niche listeners that I can just pull stuff. So hopefully I get to that 100. I'm trying to get, before I come up with any wacky ideas or before I even do any interviews, I think I just want to get to that 100 mark. And I could just continue after that, depending on, whether or not I have anything to say. But I don't see a point in continuing something if you have nothing to say, like something like a podcast. I think you should speak as much as necessary, so I will continue as long as I have something to say. Now, what could end up happening is I could end up having something to say every once in a while and add to the catalog, but I really don't want to just make podcasts for making a podcast or making it for the sake of itself. You know what I mean? Like just, I have to do something this week. Nah, man. If it's not organically succeeding, then I don't even want to be a part of it. Like there's so many different routes you can go into when it comes to social media. You can buy followers. Somebody might say, well, that's dishonest or that's not right. Or why are you able to do that? I remember it started with YouTube, where people were buying subs or doing subs for sub, and or the old trick where, somebody says, okay, if you sub for me, I'll sub to you. And then, within a day and a half, they just slide out of there and just unsubscribe from you. And then you're still subscribed, like those little tricks. But it really got way more advanced, whereas like something like TikTok, I think I explained this on one of my other episodes, you can buy followers. Now, the reason why it would probably make sense to buy followers on something like TikTok and maybe Instagram, I don't know about Twitter, but probably not Twitter anymore because the rules are changing. But the thing is, you weren't able to do a live. If you don't have 1,000 followers on TikTok, you can't do a live. And if your goal is to become TikTok famous and get content out there or skits or, whatever kind of content, skits or singing or practical jokes or whatever it is out there, and you also wanted to interact with your viewers or followers, you can't, because you have to have at least 1,000, and then you can't actually monetize your TikTok unless you get 10,000. But what I did, because I didn't really I was never interested. People always talking about they're doing TikToks. You'd see people just set a phone somewhere and all of a sudden 3 people are doing this weird dance and you're like, what are they doing? It's like they're doing a TikTok. And I had the harebrained idea to open a TikTok and try to see if I could gather some followers over there. Now, the issue I had and I'm getting into this for really no reason other than just explaining it. But I said, okay, fine. Let me get some TikTok followers so I can do a live. I can do a podcast live, and we'll see if I can start getting people over to my long format media, or my long format tapings of me talking on my podcast. And what ended up happening was I paid for it. I got, I think, 7,000 followers or something like that. I can't remember how many followers I got from the pay. It was like TikTok-o-matic or Talk-o-matic or something like that. And I was like, this might be a scam. But apparently it isn't, because I was able to get the followers, and they came within, I think within 2 or 3 days or a week or something like that. They gave you the maximum amount of whatever it is that they promised to give you. They stuck around. They stuck around in the TikTok for at least 3 months or more. And as a matter of fact, you know how they have that saying where, you know, the rich get richer, the poor get poorer. So because I already supposedly had 6,000, 7,000, whatever, I can't remember what the number was, but the point is, I had a substantial amount of followers, supposedly, to the naked eye of somebody just looking at my profile or looking at a tape, a video, whatever it is that I put out. And I ended up getting more followers. So even though you pay for the followers, they do drop off from day to day, week to week, or whatever it is. So you actually have to do some work to keep your followers up and increase them. You know, otherwise you kind of wasted your money or whatever it is. So that's basically what happened. I paid for it. I tried to do a live podcast a few times, and it was horrible. I had this camera, not that I'm not used to making videos online or whatever it is, which I am, but it's different. It's like singing a song, you know, if you have a half decent voice, or you believe you have a half decent voice, or you like to sing, and getting through words within, you know, maybe 2 to 5 minutes of a song, and stopping and then retaping if you want to, or even doing it singing live, or whatever the case is. But it's a lot different from sitting there and talking for an hour or for 2 hours or whatever it is, or while you're talking, people are popping in and out or saying nonsense while you're trying to get a thought out. So I found that type of way of doing a podcast very uneasy for me. It was very uncomfortable. So there are probably about 3 or 4 podcasts in the middle of my catalog that are kind of bleh for me. Now, I don't know, maybe listeners, like, I still put them out. But anyway, the bottom line is that I've pulled off of quite a few of my podcasts because they were, I think some were during that time, and then I was just off. That TikTok really threw me off everything, even thinking. The way that app is set up, it's not set up for you to become a better thinker, which I would say TikTok and Twitter are probably the opposites for certain. So I don't know who owns TikTok. I don't know who runs it, but I would encourage you, like I've heard other people say before, and this is from my own experience. If you have friends, loved ones, family members, or you yourself is addicted to opening TikTok every time, every waking hour, every moment, every second you have a break, I would strongly suggest you get off. And that's just a little advice from somebody who probably has no business giving you advice. Before I continue, I wanted to let you know that this podcast is for entertainment purposes only. Yes, there are some truths woven inside, but I will just keep it like that in stating that it is for entertainment purposes only. Nobody is putting me up to saying anything. And as you know, I am a Christian, and I do try to make sure that I state that from time to time. It definitely plays a role in my opinions on various topics around the world that shouldn't be any surprise to anyone who listens. And I would also like to welcome my first-time listeners, my regular listeners, and for those who will not be listening any longer after this episode or after these few words. You know where I got that from? I got that from Joe Budden. He used to always say that. My first time, my regular, and my last time. And I thought that was pretty cool. So I've jacked that, if anybody wants to know. What should I talk about? I still have many this or that's to go through. I think I'm at number 62. Where is it? Let's see. Let me pull it open to make sure. Let's see where. Oh, I pulled open the wrong thing. Let me try that again. You know, this thing is a lot easier if you have somebody actually looking for you rather than you trying to figure out on the computer at the same time while talking. But I mean, I can talk and click on mouse at the same time. Yeah, this or that questions for friends. So I would be at 63. So let's see, for jokes, let's just do number 63 for a second. It says, call first thing in the morning or call in the middle of the night. And this is for questions for friends. Well, I will definitely say call me first thing in the morning. I mean, it's not like I won't answer the phone and be able to cognitively speak or think and speak, but I would rather be awake, and I do try to wake up with the sun as often as I can, sometimes before. So yeah, that would be number 63, but I'm not doing that today. I just figured I would just tease that a little bit just for jokes. But I actually like doing these this or that. They're pretty cool. Get all the other stuff anyway. Yeah, nice. Okay, so we're gonna get back to what I really wanted to talk to you about today. So there's a couple things. I was looking on Twitter, and somebody was remarking. Somebody was talking about the things that he imagine Elon Musk sends to his employees. Just like, I guess, a certain amount of little rules or ideas or whatever, however you want to put them. Let me just click this thing off. Turn that down. Let's see. I love having music as I talk. I don't know what it is, but I'm able to talk over instrumentals. It just gives a nice vibe. So for those of you who have thought about doing a podcast but just don't like the dead silence as you speak, try what I do. Is I always have a pair of overhead earphones on, and then I just throw in some buds and I play it from a different source, and then I just have a nice instrumental going as I speak. It just, I don't know, just sets the vibe the way it needs to be for me to be able to do what I'm doing. Okay, so let's get to these things that Elon Musk says to his employees via email. And then I'm going to get into something else totally different. I'm going to read Luke 12 of the Bible. Now, the main verses that I was going to concentrate on are 13 to 21 of Luke 12, but I'm just going to probably read more, but I'll start off at 1. Okay, so it says, and I'm going to give him a little commentary of what I know, whether or not this thing works, or I'll give you any kind of understanding that I might have as to why he says these things, and how it might affect an average worker or a big company, corporation, whatever it is. You'll understand in a second. Okay, number 1, he says, avoid large meetings. Large meetings waste valuable time and energy. Now, being somebody who works for a pretty big company, I can understand that. Now, you might say, well, what do you mean avoid large meetings? Well, a meeting when you have like maybe one person and maybe moderating a meeting and say 4 participants who are just going to speak at a huge group of people. So I would say a large group I would consider would be anywhere from 50. No, I would say anywhere 100 and plus. Okay, so the thoughts on it, it says they discourage debate. And you might say, okay, how does a large meeting discourage debate? Well, first of all, from my own experience, and I'm sure there's going to be other opinions, this is just me giving my 2 cents on this set of things, set of rules or whatever. I'm not sure what the actual thing was called, but they discourage debate for sure, because the reason why I would say for sure that they don't allow everybody to speak. So when you may want to nitpick at something that someone said in a large meeting, they're not necessarily going to let you do that because you're going to eat up the time. And sometimes those meetings involve people who are there paid for their time to come and speak to a large group. You know, maybe it's a pep talk, maybe it's a large group tongue lashing about a behavior of a certain group towards another group, usually a disenfranchised group or whatever it is. That's basically the way it is these days. Somebody gets paid to come in and, you know, don't do this, don't do that, and these people, you need your support, and don't sit on the fence, you need to be at the front lines, and yada 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 yada, right? So of course they discourage debate because there's always somebody who has a different opinion in those meetings. But again, they're not just going to let any Joe Schmo out of 250 people just start speaking and talking something totally counterproductive when it comes to what is being presented. They don't want any extra thoughts. This is the thought that they want everybody to understand. This is the thought, the narrative that they would like put out there. And according to this one as well, it says people are more guarded than open. And yes, they are. And the reason why I would be guarded, of course, in a huge meeting, because there's more eyes. And if you say something stupid, like I was in this meeting where there was over 100 of us there, and we were all told to read off certain parts of a slide deck or whatever it is, or a PowerPoint or whatever. And the whole time I was there like, oh man, what if I screw up? Like, I hate reading out loud to other people. And there's something, you know, when something can go wrong, generally does go wrong in those meetings. So people tend to shy away from breaking out and saying what they think, or saying anything at all, as a matter of fact. And what happened to me the last time is I was supposed to read a slide, and I was reading for a good 20 seconds with my camera on, and I'm reading online. It was one of those meetings, and nobody could hear me after I've already read like 2 paragraphs of a reading that I was supposed to do. And then somebody said, we can't hear you. So I had to start over and figure, well, first I had to figure out why my mic wasn't working, because, you know, that's what you have to do if it's a online meeting or whatever it is in front of many people. And then I had to start over again. Okay. Next, and this is about avoiding large meetings. Large meetings waste valuable time and energy. Okay. There's not enough time for everyone to contribute. And that's what I was saying earlier. So they don't generally allow it. That's one of the reasons why it's generally not allowed. It's for everybody to pipe up with a couple comments or whatever, because there's just not enough time. Don't schedule large meetings unless you're certain they provide value to everyone. And I can honestly tell you, for a meeting to provide value to every single person, it would have to be how to do something. Like maybe you're all cashiers and there's a new button on the register, and rather than going from person to person, it'd be better if you just kind of speak it out to everybody at the same time. So there it would make sense. But there's like, maybe it's a procedural change or company policy in that way, but not when you're trying to like brainwash everybody into believing your thoughts on something, and you're the manager or you're running a company. The big things usually don't help. There's usually people off in the corners just kind of debating amongst themselves and deciding not to adapt your whatever, your new narrative. Number 2, leave a meeting if you're not contributing. Now, it's a nice thought, because what they'd rather you do is just go back to work. But, of course, if work is shut down, leave a meeting if you're not contributing. If a meeting doesn't require you to have input, doesn't add value to you or anyone, and if it doesn't require your decisions, your input, or your value. Now, the problem is, that's great, but I can tell you right now, the average workplace does not go for that. They want you to sit there and be bored out of your skull. They want to know that you heard the talk or whatever it is, rather than just leaving. That'd be a joke. If that was allowed in many meetings, in many places, I think there'd be so many less people in those big meetings. People would just excuse themselves or not even show up in the first place. Also, leave a meeting if you're not contributing. If a meeting doesn't require your presence, is useless. So again, I've been in many meetings where I've had to be there even though my presence was useless. It's not rude to leave a meeting. Yeah, right. But it's rude to waste people's time. That's 100%. I've been speaking about this for a little while now, and people already know, of course, that the biggest, best, most valuable commodity that each of us possess is time. And again, I don't know if I have 6 more years or 6 more minutes, but I'd rather spend whatever time I have doing something more productive than just sitting there listening to someone talk at me, through me, and around me while I just have to be there. Forget the chain of command. Communicate with colleagues directly, not through supervisors or managers. Fast communicators make fast decisions. And that's right again. Now, there's some people, who will just go and they'll complain. I think that John could do this better if he did blah, 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 blah. How about you just go talk to John and say, John, I noticed that I think that there's a better way for you to produce more of these certain objects in a certain amount of time if you would not spend so much time at the water fountain. Now, maybe that wouldn't be it, but you know what I mean? It's like these people who want to communicate through the chain of command all the time instead of going right to the source and fixing the problem. I think those are the companies that have people kind of just around. And companies like that or businesses like that can usually work at a way smaller workforce, as I guess they're finding out right now at Twitter. But we haven't seen the end of that yet, at least in this day and age where I am. Okay. Fast decisions equal competitive advantage. Right. So when you really get on something, but when you have to talk to this manager, that manager, this manager, and then that CEO or whatever, and then it goes back down, or you have to get somebody to prove this, that, or the other, and it generally doesn't get done quick enough. So you can't compete if you're in a competitive type of time-sensitive market, I suppose. Let's see. 4, be clear, not clever. Avoid nonsense words and technical jargon. Yeah. It many times it's not necessary to just speak a whole bunch of smart sounding words to make yourself sound intelligent. It slows down communication. Choose words that are concise, to the point, easy to understand. Don't sound smart. Be efficient. So we don't care. If you want to sound smart, you can try to do that if you want, but people would just rather you be more efficient. 5. And I haven't read these, by the way, so I'm just kind of going through them with you here. Ditch frequent meetings. There's no better way to waste everyone's time. Use meetings to collaborate. Attack issues head on. Solve urgent problems. But once you solve the issue, frequent meetings are no longer necessary. And I believe that too. Like many times I have to have team meetings or huge team meetings or whatever, or mid-level team meetings. And many of the issues can be solved if the people sitting at the meetings were able to maybe branch off and go into little cells and slug it out over different topics. You could probably solve a lot more problems that way, rather than just being there and kind of just, yeah, we're having a meeting and everybody's having a meeting and I want you to think about things like this, that, and the other, and what ways could help. Instead of you just walking over and saying, hey, can you support me in this project over here? Yeah, and I can support you in a project over there that's not getting done. It's because, there's not enough collaboration. The meetings don't necessarily promote collaboration. Just, you need to attack those issues head on. Makes sense to me. You can solve most issues without a meeting. Instead of a meeting, send a text message, send an email, communicate on Discord. I guess people use Discord, or Slack channel, Dawn, whatever these things are. Interrupt your team's workflow if it is necessary. Yeah, if you need to just get at something and handle it right quick, then I think that's what should be done. But a lot of time people have these agendas that sometimes have nothing to do with the immediate issues that your team or your company is facing. And therefore, because the immediate things do not get dealt with, they linger around a lot longer than they need to. Let's see, last one here. Use common sense. If a company rule doesn't make sense, contribute to progress. Apply to your specific situation. Avoid following the rule with your eyes closed. Don't follow rules, follow principles. So yes, it's way better to be someone who is full of principle rather than someone who's full of rules. And it's kind of funny that when I think about that, I'm not sure where he got these ideas or who wrote these ideas, but that one at the end there really sparks something, in me. I think about, don't follow rules, follow principles. Now, the funny thing is, when you think of the 10 Commandments, right? It's a set of rules. Thou shalt not, thou shalt not, thou shalt, all that stuff, right? And if you're concentrating on not doing the rules, it can become tedious. But what I've understood from, say, the Old Testament and the commandments and the New Testament, as far as the Gospels are concerned, if you follow Christ's principles, you will also be obeying those rules, but you will not be focused on the rules. You'll just be focused on the principle, and the principle is Christ. So if you put this in the natural sense, yeah, use common sense. If a company's rules don't make sense, use common sense if a company's rule doesn't make sense. And I remember, I think of David. Well, I think I can't remember. Maybe he's running from Saul's army or whatever it is. But I remember in the scriptures, I think he was hungry. Him and his men were hungry. And he knew he was the servant of the Lord. He knew that he was on the right side. And Saul was chasing him or whatever it was. I can't remember exactly because I haven't read it for a while. But he broke in to, was it the Holies of Holies, wherever it is, inside the camp, I guess, wherever it was. And he took the showbread or the shoe bread from off of the altar, I guess. And it was only lawful for a priest to do it, but he took it, he grabbed it, and he gave some to, I guess, his man, and he ate because he was hungry and starving or whatever it is, and they prospered. So I don't know. It's just interesting when I think of stuff like that. Like, I can't really say for sure exactly that really applies, but it seems like it did in that case. And the reason why I say that is because I also think about the guy who caught the Ark of the Covenant when it was falling off of the cart that they were rolling it. I think when they were taking it back from the Philistines, I think. But he thought he caught it, and as soon as he touched it, he dropped it and he died because he touched it. He wasn't supposed to touch it. But that was commanded that he shouldn't touch it. So that might have been a little bit of a different situation. But yeah, principles are so much stronger to follow than rules, because some rules in certain instances might not make any sense. Got a little water there. All right, so I'm done there. That was interesting. Now I do want to get on. I was gonna read the whole of Luke 12, chapter verse 13 to 21, but I think that's what I was gonna do originally. But I think that's what I'm gonna do, just to keep this nice, short, and sweet. I'm gonna check my time here. We are on. Where is my? Oh, I'm looking at something else. Let me check it out here. Hey, come check out You Probably Right podcast. Society is getting more unpredictable every day, but at the same time, predictable in its unpredictability. Say that 4 times real fast. Come with me as I attempt to find clarity in all the fog while staying way outside the box and kicking the box way down the road with my size 12 dogs. I use the Bible, experience, education, fortune, misfortune, life's lessons, life's mistakes to sort through all the mess. I talk about news, God, God, self-help, sports, sickness, health, music, parenting, love, humbleness, hurt, pain, joy, and all the things that might make you say, I never thought of it that way. Hopefully, anyway. Also, I take a stab at answering tough and not so tough questions, and all the while understand that, listen, sometimes you end up in the hot seat and there's no thermostat. Well, that's how it is here. And because there's no topic, very few topics off the table, Torontonians will understand that Doug Ford reference there. Hopefully the podcast will be helpful and uplifting. And hey, maybe you'll find your own private Idaho here somewhere. Hope to see you soon.